Hello tanks and tankettes, welcome to a viewer replay, and today we're looking at a Cromwell game. Now there are certain tanks where I get sent replays of them more frequently than others, and they tend to be the stronger tanks. Tanks like the Cromwell, the T29, the T54, tanks that it's possible to have a good game in with, I don't want to say relatively little effort, but they're good tanks to start with, and it's easier to have a good game in a tank that's a strong tank to begin with than it is in a tank that is more lackluster. And okay, it's therefore then more impressive when I see one of those lackluster games, but it doesn't mean the games like this aren't impressive as well. It's just, it becomes hard to, like, I could easily just do World of Cromwell and T29 and T54, and that would get a bit boring after a while, so I try and preserve some measure of, like, I like there to be a variety. Anyway, this one caught my eye. This is Serene Potato. This is a 9.4 game, and he is on the SEA server. And I mention that because, I don't know, it may or not be relevant. I mean, it's hard to say if this is a typical SEA server game or not. I don't know. Not everybody says what server they're on when they send me stuff, and sometimes I can tell from clan names. Other times I can tell because they tell me. But if they don't tell me, then I have no idea, because it doesn't, when you're looking at a What Replays link, it doesn't say it's from the server or whatever. Anyway, he's platooned up with someone in a Crusader who is using the 3-inch derp gun. Now, there are two British derp guns, the 3.7-inch howitzer, which is what the Cromwell can mount, and the 3-inch howitzer, which is what the Crusader and the Churchill 1 can mount. I think the Churchill 7 gets the 3.7-inch, so it's not both Churchills, but yeah, it's pretty puny. It's not a good gun to use, especially not at tier 5. If it was the howitzer that you used on the Cruiser Mark II, then okay, but it's not. The 3.7-inch howitzer is the one you use on the Cruiser Mark II, so yeah, it's pretty terrible, and he doesn't do very well in this game. But this is not about him, this is about Serene Potato, and just that name alone caught my eye. Serene Potato, that is an excellent name, I fully approve. Anyway, he obviously got spotted firing into that Churchill 7, because he's not far enough behind to be in cover. And apart from anything else, I can't remember if it's this side or the other side, but basically the bushes are a lie. Anyway, the Churchill 7 is not something you especially want to be shooting at frontally, but he did manage to score one penetrating hit, which was quite good. I think he was able to fire down into the sloped part of the upper front plates, because there's like the sloped part and then the vertical part, as it were. The vertical part's the tough part, but the sloped part, if you can fly down into it, it's a bit less armoured. So this is, I mean, this is good matchmaking. I should have said that at the start. This is really good matchmaking for a Cromwell. And it does allow the Cromwell to be at its strongest. You know, it kind of ties into what I was saying at the beginning. Being top tier in a Cromwell, or being top tier in a T29 or a T54, you can get the best out of those tanks. But that doesn't necessarily mean this game is going to be easy mode for Serene Potato. There's going to be some interesting things that happen. So that's an enemy top tier heavy who has moved maybe 50 meters from the cap circle, but that's good for Serene's team. Bad for the enemy team though, because that's a big chunk of their firepower and their hit points at the top of the team that's been basically doing nothing, and that's not good. Things have been a bit chaotic on the rest of the map as well. I mean, it's devolved into, most of the focus was on the middle, and it's kind of devolved into a bit of a furball. And Serene takes the opportunity to move up on this T34 who used that position. And this guy is trying to be smart. He's trying to use these wrecks as cover, but he doesn't really put himself in a position to make a getaway. And because he had the 57mm gun, even though Serene did take a hit there, it ended up not mattering, because that wasn't a lot of damage. He could afford to take that hit. Although, you know, it would have been nice if he hadn't. It's always better not to take a hit if at all possible. You want to preserve your hit points, ideally as long as possible, so you can keep fighting for as long as possible. But anyway, So that KV-85 is down, the friendly VK is still alive, and Serene's trying to help this guy, but he's not having any luck hitting this Hellcat at all. He switched to HE, but because he's relying on auto-aim here, maybe he would have had more success if he'd actually scoped in and aimed manually. But on the other hand, centre of mass shot in front of a Hellcat, you know, it might just have been bad luck. But still, that's the kind of situation where you can afford to sit and aim, so that he probably should have. So he's down to about half health. His team is down to 3 tanks, including him, versus 6 tanks, including 2 artillery. So this is not great. Now we know that M7's low health, and the M7 is the only actual tank left. The rest are all tank destroyers or artillery. But of the ones left, I mean, the SU-100 could one-shot him. The Hellcat he can take a hit from. The T-67, if the T-67 is sneaky, could kill him, and misses that Hellcat. That's unfortunate. That might actually be, like, that might come back to bite him in the ass. We'll see. But yeah, any of these tanks, if they play smart, the Cromwell doesn't have a lot of armor. So he has to play to his strengths, which are speed. The artillery died, so the last remaining friendly tank is this Chaffee, and the Chaffee's actually come back to him, which was a smart move. Like, they're sticking together here. And they have a better chance sticking together under these circumstances than they do splitting off. Unfortunately, the Chaffee takes a big hit from that SU-100, but it does mean that while this guy's reloading, they can just finish him off, and there we go. But meanwhile, the Hellcat has appeared. Now, Serene Potato is about to make a bit of a mistake. He's obviously aware that the Hellcat has thin armour, so he switches to HE ammo. But the better thing to do there would have been to actually fire AP and yes, fire AP and have the HE loaded up as the, you know, lined up as the next shot, as it were. But instead, he did that, and it was actually kind of entertaining, I have to say. I mean, I don't know how planned that was. I don't know if he was planning to jump on the guy, but it was still fairly funny. Now, he makes as if he's going to drive all the way around, waits till he's off the M7's radar, and then turns around again. So he's applying a little brain power here. He's going to poke back out and go, surprise! And it works perfectly. So there we go. So that's an SU-100, a Hellcat, and an M7 all disposed of. And yeah, he does that a lot, by the way. So there are going to be sections of this from now on, from this point forward, where it's in free cam mode. Because I don't know if it was just like elation at having survived, or if it was just, I don't know, just sheer sweaty palmed, exhilarated terror. Like, I should not be alive right now, because, you know, we all have that sometimes. But he does that scrolling in and out and in and out, and it's kind of annoying. So it's unusual for me to go to free cam mode within a replay. Like, some of my very earliest replays, I thought to myself, oh, I'll be a bit, you know, I'll try and direct the action a bit, and then people didn't like that at all. So I just stick with... People want to see what I saw in battle, and people want to see what other people were seeing in battle, but in this case, it was him flicking in and out with his mouse scroll wheel, and that's really annoying. So yeah, that's a very long explanation that was probably unnecessarily long as to why that was like that. Anyway, this artillery is possibly trying to drown himself, but Serene Potato's having none of that. So it finishes him off. The other artillery, well, he spotted that guy, the M44. We know exactly where he is. But guess who's on the cap? Okay, so he's got to go all the way back again now. And this is where the speed of the Cromwell comes in really useful. In a slower tank, he possibly wouldn't have been able to get back in time. But in a Cromwell, he can just put the pedal to the metal and he can just put that speed to use. And although it's a little bit nerve-wracking, he'd have to screw this up fairly hard to not get back in time in a Cromwell. Now, the T-67, from the shot he took from that guy earlier, we know that he's probably got the 128 128mm gun. What? The 76mm gun with 128 average pen is what my brain was trying to... I don't know, the numbers all got mashed together. It's been a long day. But what that means is basically he's unlikely to be one shot, but he can much less. Like the 57mm gun. I mean, it still would be dangerous, but I think the 76mm gun poses more danger. Or maybe they're exactly the same amount of danger. I don't know. But the T-67, oh, there's artillery. The T-67 is a really weird thing. He just runs. He doesn't even try to fight. He just runs away. And I don't know if he was playing with like really horrible ping, maybe, because the SEA server region covers quite a wide geographic area. Like there are, I mean, China's got its own server. I think Korea's got its own server, and then for the rest of the whole kind of Southeast Asia region, including like Australia and New Zealand, they're all playing on I think it's just one cluster. I don't think it's like even EU where there's different clusters and different locations. So who knows what that T-67's ping was, but it's kind of weird that he didn't even try and fire once. Not once. So at this point he decides he's going to go cap. And actually that is entirely the sensible thing to do, because, and you'll see in the chat, like his platoon mate who went off to the bathroom, we were all treated to that information, he came back and said, why don't you just go after this artillery? And actually, Serene Potato, I think he made the right call in saying, well, no, it's safer to cap, because that guarantees the win. If he goes up against this M44, and that's a real gamble. Like, he doesn't even have to get directly hit. He just has to get splashed, and he doesn't have a lot of armor, and he doesn't have a lot of hit points. So this is the safer bet, and it's okay, a bit less XP and a bit less credits at the end of the day, but it is the safer bet. And these are the circumstances where, yeah, actually, you probably should be doing this. Anyway, the M44 turns up behind him, and he's putting the buildings in between him and that guy. Like, the airfield map is actually... there aren't any other maps I can think of that have this much destructible cover in the cap, and it can actually make for some very tense moments in the cap that you just don't get on any other maps. So he's zoomed out. He's obviously using extra zoom out as a mod, which comes with various other mods like Jimbo's. Like it comes bundled with a bunch of things. It's quite useful. But he's watching for things like trees going over or buildings being knocked down, and he's still trying to cap. Like, he knows the guy's close, but he just does not want to risk it because he doesn't want to throw away this win, because it's already going to be a nice win. If he caps, I mean, at this point, even if the enemy artist's left alive, if he caps, he's still won in a 5 versus 1 situation. This is a Kolobanov's medal for him either way. But the artillery, he actually takes a chance, and he banks on being able to outturn the artillery, and he does it. He actually, just as the timer goes to 100, he manages a cap. So we'll look at the results screen, and this is, I mean, it's quite impressive, I think. He has managed, in one battle, a Kolobanov's medal, a Defender medal, and an Invader medal. In addition to that, he got a high caliber, a Top Gun, and an Ace Mastery, and I think it was quite well deserved. But how often do you see that? Even just a Defender medal and an Invader medal in the same battle. But to top that off with a Kolobanov's medal as well, that's actually a pretty impressive result. So, yeah, I mean, it was the Cromwell that allowed him to do this, but he had to apply the brain power as well. And it just kind of shows you, like, the level of, you know, what you have to do in a Cromwell to get a look in, almost, because the competition's quite fierce for some of these tougher tanks. Like, there's a reason you don't see a lot of these replays on my channel. I want to give the lesser seen tanks a go as well, but when a match comes like this comes along, like that was a good result, and he drove nearly 6 kilometers in that battle. He was going all over the place. He had exactly 100 base capture points and exactly 100 base defense points, and I don't know what else to say about that. I just think that was a really good match, and I mean, Serene Potato, he was, in his email, he was not modest, and in the replay description, he was really not modest, but whatever. It was a good match, though, and he knew it was a good match, and he's right, it was a good match. It was just one of those cases where even though somebody was maybe a little immodest in how they described a thing, I'm perfectly fine with that because they were actually right. It was a very good match indeed. And bonus points for the name because Serene Potato. How is that just not a great name? It just is. And if you don't think so, you're wrong because it is. And shut up. Oh, I'm feeling, I don't know. Today's been a weird day. Anyway. So, if you liked this replay, you can leave any comments below. You can hit the like button. You can subscribe to my channel. And, as always, stay tuned for more.